in Christianity, I've got the verse written down, but if a man lies with a male, I'll read it out, but you're probably off by heart. Do you know which one I'm talking about? If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them. Now, is that just, that sounds to me like a rule. You said like all matters in language. That sounds to me as a rule, not just as a story. Is that a rule? Is that a story? And what does that mean to all the people that are gay, that are having those relationships?
Well, about 364 times in the Bible, we read, both in the Old Testament and the New Testament, Torah and New Testament, we read that sexual immorality of the heterosexual type is wrong. There are about 9 examples in the Bible where homosexual sex is critiqued as being wrong. But it all goes back to Genesis chapter 1 and 2. In Genesis chapter 1, we read, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And then in Genesis 2:24, we read, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother, be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So the scriptures are pretty clear, consistent from Genesis to Revelation, that God gave us this beautiful gift of sexuality, and we are to enjoy it within the context of a lifelong commitment between one man and one woman till death parts us. Which means my heterosexual lust is a perversion of the gift of human sexuality that God has given me. When I lust after a woman, I'm reducing her to a plaything that I use to get a vicarious thrill in my head. And Jesus said consistently, God in all the scriptures says, you don't use a woman as a cute Barbie doll in your head to get a vicarious thrill sexually. Instead, you learn to build a relationship with a woman and treat her as a significant human being.
But going back to being gay, is that, would you, but a lot of people, but I think that's the bit different. So in the part that you talked about sexual morality with a woman, looking at a woman as an object.
Yes.
I think we can all agree that's totally wrong. Well,
all agree?
Okay, sorry. All of us in this room. Hopefully you would also agree. I think all of us in this room would agree.
I think the pornography industry is doing quite well.
Yeah, and I think that's horrific, and I personally think that should be banned. But I think that's very horrific to see a lot of that. But I think we can agree that it's wrong to have sexual morality with another woman if you're already tied to or even if you're not tied to a current one, it's still a bit wrong. I mean, if you're committed to someone, then to one person, then to look at other people or to have other thoughts about other people. To say, I want to be with that person, or you're rating other people's hotness when you're committed to one person is really detracting from that relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but don't you understand the thinking that says, I have sex with whoever I want to, and as long as the quality of sex is high and the price of the sex is low, I'm in a good situation. But if the quality goes down and the price goes up, why shouldn't I ditch that person and go out and get somebody else? And there's a real logic, right? Quality high of the sex, price low, I'm into it. Quality goes down, price goes up, bye-bye, I'm out of here. I'm going to find somebody else who can turn me on more.
Well, I think if you want a real relationship, it goes beyond that. It goes much deeper than just that, the physical part of it. It goes to the emotional level.
Yes.
Much deeper to the emotional. I think the emotional is probably, you value it much more. And you say, in 50 years, how will this be? You want a partner for life that will help you grow, that will help you in so many ways, not just what you might do physically.
But if we're just beasts, if we're simply animals, you can give me all this gibberish about commitment and about loyalty. I don't buy it. Because in reality, if there is no God, we're just animals. We're just beasts.
I'm talking about on a selfish level. On a selfish level, if you want some, let's say when you're 50, 60, 70 years old, if you want someone who will be there for you, to care for you, then you've got to do this. On a selfish level, beyond religion. Would you agree with me?
Well, I can promise you, I hope there is a lot more to my marriage than simply my wife wanting me to take care of her when she's 60, 70, 80 years old and gets Parkinson's or Alzheimer's.
And I was just giving one example why a good marriage would be on a selfish reason beyond God.
Okay, good. And so, yes, irrationally, I think that makes some sense. That there is a real value to a lifelong commitment. And that is, I think, thinking well. That's thinking reasonably. That's thinking the long haul, not just instant gratification in the here and nows by whoever can turn me on best. And that's good thinking. Yeah, Ellie, I like it.
Yeah, but in terms of being gay,
Yes.
is that a sin? Is that a sin? And
No,
why is it a sin?
It is not a sin
It's
to
not a
have
sin.
to have an urge to have sex with someone of the same sex.
No, but
What
the
is
physical
the sin is if I practice it,
Yeah.
then it is sinful. The same way, if I look at a woman and say, wow, she's gorgeous, that's not sinful. What is sin is if I use her in my head to get a vicarious thrill, or if I use her physically to get a thrill, a physical thrill, that is denigrating a human being created in the image of God. And God says, don't denigrate people. Learn to respect people.
Sure, but no, I understand that. But why is it wrong? Why is it considered wrong?
It's considered wrong because God made us male and female. And God has said, male and female, I created to have sex with each other within the context of a lifelong commitment. And if you pull the sex out of that context, that's twisting the purpose for which God gave us our sexuality. See, so the bottom line question, Ellie, is did God create us for a purpose? And if life is meaningless, it doesn't matter who I have sex with. I can have sex with my golden retriever dog, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because I just create my own meaning. I create my own morality. But if God created my life for a purpose, to love and worship him and to love and serve others, and if God created my sexuality for a purpose, then as a thinking person, I want to understand, God, what's the purpose for which you created my sexuality? And he did not create us, according to the scriptures, for us to have sex with people of the same sex.
But why can't someone have that relationship? What's like actually wrong? What you're saying to me is saying it's wrong because God said so, and because God said a man and a woman is a right relationship to have.
It's a violation of the purpose for which God gave us our sexuality.
Is the purpose to have kids, or what's wrong about that? What's actually wrong about a man and a man, or a woman and a woman?
What if the purpose was to have kids? Would you have an issue with that?
Well, some people would say that, a lot of men and women, even when they're together, can't have kids.
Right.
Yeah.
But a man and a man can't have, or a woman and a woman can't have any kids. For sure.
But they can adopt, and there's a lot of adopted kids out there that
and
don't have a home.
They're adopting from couples that are not man on man, woman on woman. So just practically speaking, I don't think that's the whole purpose of marriage, even though be fruitful and multiply is very close to man and woman. But I think that's a big part of it, certainly. But the unfair, I think you're getting underneath to the unfairness of it all. It just seems like it's unfair. But we know many non-practicing homosexuals who have definitely the tendency and preference to someone of the same sex, and they're living monogamous lives, and others have actually ended up marrying somebody of the opposite sex. And those who live the single lifestyle, it's fascinating to listen to them and to read some of their books, their own personal testimonies, and how their closeness with God is so much stronger than what it was dating somebody of the same sex, or if they were bisexual, somebody different. Why?
What's actually different to dating someone of the same sex to dating someone of the opposite sex?
What's the difference, like physically or?
Not physically, but like religiously. Or why? Religiously, yeah.
Because there's diversity throughout the Bible. You get diversity right early on, male and female. You get diversity right with God's speaking and metaphor of the church, the bride and the bridegroom, for example, in the New Testament. So right on down, there's even a spiritual element to male and female, not just producing kids, but also the diversity between that is how God has created us to fit and actually build a family. So in terms of the physical interaction and the endorphins that are flowing, the physical act itself, you could get a vicarious thrill that is maybe just as strong. But in terms of the diversity of it, that's how you get throughout the scripture. It's not just Leviticus and Romans talking about don't do it. It's a diversity of this is how God has created us to fit together in order to build a family that's under a covenant. Because it gets back to marriage. And I think it's interesting in your sincerity and honesty over this type of, it's selfish for me later on in life to actually have this helpmate who can help me through when I have Alzheimer's. Well, from an evolutionary perspective, the whole reason why you act ethically and morally should be for selfish reasons. And I think we know that's not what we want. And that's not hopefully how we truly live.